the Driven Women's Guide to Love,
Life, and Business, hosted by the boss ladies Alex and Gabby. Combined, their network gathers an array of women from various industries who exemplify strength and tenacity. Their fun and positive approach to life will awaken the boss in you. You're listening to Girls Gone Boss.
Hi, Shauna. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How about you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Gabby, how are you doing?
I'm good. Shauna, we're so happy to have you on the podcast. Again, welcome to all of our YouTubers. We're so excited to finally have some video alongside our interviews. So Shauna, you are the second lucky winner to be on camera. You look great.
You look fantastic.
Thank you. It's totally ring light and it's good lighting. I'll give it up to that.
I just told Gabby today, I'm like, we need to get ring light. She's like, girl, I already got one. I was like, okay, I'm behind.
Like, I am prepared. I have a really good one. If you want a link, let me know.
I would love that actually. Please send it my way.
I will.
So Shauna, tell us about how you started in PR and what ultimately led you to Advocation.
Yeah. So I started in PR. I actually wanted to start on the other side of the industry, which is journalism. So my background, my degree that I received in college was from journalism. I actually started my career writing for a top daily newspaper. And at the time, it was the Great Recession, which we all remember if you're of my age. And it was a very tough time to be trying to forge a path as a journalist. I remember the outlet that I was working at the time, I think they cut 30% of their staff while I was there. And it turned out to just not be the best career path for me, for a variety of reasons. And I made the switch into PR and have really never looked back. It's been such a great fit for me personally and professionally, and I've really loved it.
Explain to us exactly what Advocation does.
Yeah. So the kind of spark behind Advocation, to give you a little bit more on like the backstory, is I really was trying to find my path, my unique kind of niche in PR. It was not an easy industry to kind of make your way in. I remember when I started, I was working truly 3 jobs for the first 3 years that I was working in PR to just pay rent and buy groceries and gas. And I was looking for all of the opportunities I could to excel and kind of climb through that quote unquote corporate ladder as quickly as I could. And I saw this really big need for operations and project management in particular inside of my company that I was working inside at the time. And so I went out and took an evening project management program that turned out to be just fantastic. I was living in Seattle at the time, and we had professionals from Starbucks and Microsoft and Amazon and all of the big employers there just coming and teaching us the best practices of project management. And I took those and really molded them to fit inside of a PR agency. For anyone who's not familiar with the industry, it is so fast paced. We kind of pivot on a dime all of the time. So we really needed to be more agile than most, I think, project managers and project management best practices are. And so that really kind of started me on this path of realizing that agency operations was such a need. And that's the need that Advocation really fills. We provide strategic operations and team training for other PR agencies. And then the other side of that coin really is addressing the big elephant in the room that I know we're not the only industry where this happens, but it's the overwork and the overstress. I mean, for me personally, I reached a point in my career where I was, had made it, quote unquote, to the outside world, but I was just sick, just physically ill, mentally exhausted. My body had just been put through the ringer in terms of the amount of stress I was experiencing. And a doctor truly basically gave me an ultimatum, and they said, listen, girl, like you're going to be basically bedridden if you keep working like this. And so pairing those systems in a way that addresses stress. We don't need to just be more efficient and produce more results. We really need to take care of the people who are working inside of our companies too. So that's kind of the two sides that we really focus on.
So those trainings that you offer, talk a little bit about exactly what trainings Advocation offers besides hiring.
Yeah.
Like helping with mental health in the workplace and stuff like that. Tell us all the different services that you do.
Yeah. So on the operation side, there are a number of services that we provide. Usually agency owners come to us because they've reached a bit of a ceiling in their business. I would say the most common is, shoot, we can't grow anymore because we don't have the systems to sustain it. So all of, like you said, the hiring, setting up services properly, tools and systems. And then on the training side, where we really excel and kind of what we're known for in the industry is client management and leadership. So our team trainings inside of the company are based around what we call our ESP framework. It stands for Empowered Skilled People. And it's encompassing of all of the hard skills, the soft skills, and the leadership skills that team members truly need to show up as effective leaders and client managers in their team. I would say probably our most requested or most needed training is truly on setting expectations, which doesn't get discussed quite often enough, when I would say it's probably one of the most critical success factors for PRH, for a lot of career fields, is just setting proper expectations, and no one's really teaching people how to do that.
Expectations for the company or individually for the teams?
For everybody. So when we're working inside of a PR agency, the real important expectations start when you sign a new client. So setting appropriate expectations. And this is so hard to do in PR because much of what we do happens behind the scenes, and no one really knows how PR works. I mean, I always, all PR professionals kind of joke that even our parents don't know what we do at this stage in the game, but setting appropriate expectations with clients in terms of, hey, here is what working together is going to look like. Here's what results are going to look like. And most importantly, here's what we can't do for you, because often clients expect, hey, I'm hoping my PR agency will double, triple, quadruple our sales. And that is not a realistic expectation. So learning how to push back on that front, and then setting expectations with your team members and really ensuring that everyone knows what they're responsible for, and it's not just chaos behind the scenes.
Do you only work with PR agencies?
We focus on the agency business model. So it's we work mostly with PR agencies because that's my personal background and it's a unique breed of business, but marketing, social media, advertising too.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
I know that the way to hire now looks a lot different, specifically because of the pandemic, and what are the challenges that your clients are facing in this part of the business of the hiring?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it really is like night and day in the last 2 years. It's so different. I would say for us, I think one of the biggest differences that I've talked a lot about inside of our industry is just the fact that there's been this great reawakening with all of us, I think, throughout the entire pandemic, where people are really reprioritizing what's important to them and truly becoming wholly unavailable for some of the BS that was happening in the corporate world before. So, overworking, truly just like stressing themselves out to achieve goals that I think people are realizing are just not that important to them. And for our industry, PR, marketing, social media, etc., so many individuals have left the traditional 9-to-5 workforce to start their own companies, to become consultants, whether it's picking up a side hustle. And that I think is the biggest challenge, is that everyone is hiring. I mean, it's like a light switch went off, and businesses, at least in my realm, it's like a faucet turned on and all the opportunities came overnight. And there are fewer and fewer full-time people who are interested in that full-time employee role. And so being able to get creative in hiring a couple of consultants instead of a full-time employee, or maybe you're partnering with someone who specializes in social media when you provide PR, or, getting creative with the type of people that you're hiring. But that's kind of been the biggest challenge that I've seen in our industry, is people are looking elsewhere. They're looking for other opportunities.
Yeah. And now we have more options now.
Totally. Yes. There are more and more options. Definitely.
And with I keep going back to the pandemic because we all ended up staying home and working from home. I also know that a lot of the workforce is looking to stay at home.
Yes.
We all realize that we are productive at home, even employers have. So I heard somewhere that now it's 1 out of 6 jobs is work from home jobs, when before it was like 1 out of 60. So that also, I think, has to impact your business, because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of pushback on people that, if you're asking someone to come into the office from 9 to 5, there's going to be a lot more jobs that are from home, and that will, maybe entice that candidate to go elsewhere.
Right. So how do you retain that top talent so they don't leave elsewhere because they're being offered remote work rather than having to come to the office or doing hybrid?
I mean, I really think the number one and simplest way that employers can retain top talent that often gets overlooked is just ask your employees what they want and what they need, and then listen. And you're exactly right. The ability to work from home. I remember reading this study, and it was for marketers in particular, but it was 100%. And it wasn't just like over exaggerating, but every single person of the thousands of people surveyed wanted to continue working from home, at least part-time. So everybody wants it. And everyone has wanted this for years. And before the pandemic, many employers said it's not possible, it's too hard, people won't be effective, they won't be efficient. And then surprise, none of that was true. And whether it was because people had to pull together and we had to make it work, the fact of the matter is we've proved it does work. And so you can't really tell your employees that the only reason you don't want them to work from home is because you don't want them to. So that just isn't going to fly any longer. And that is a really simple way for those who are hiring or those who want to retain employees, is just figure out how to let people work from home. It doesn't have to be 100% of their time, maybe a hybrid model if you do need to be in person every once in a while. But yeah, to me, it feels like I'm like, the math doesn't add up. Like, why is this not being prioritized? But yes, I think that's one of the key, simplest ways.
And so you would help companies kind of transition from that, or having to have those conversations with the employees?
Yeah. So thankfully, I think in the PR industry, we work in a way where it's fairly simple to transition to an at-home working environment. But I also will say that we do lead companies through that, transitioning to an at-home work from home environment, making sure that their systems are set up, that they have effective tools for working together and collaborating. But the one piece that often gets overlooked is so simple, and honestly can account for like getting you 80% of the way like there. And that is just clarity. That is providing your team members with 100% clarity on what it is we're doing and what it is we're trying to achieve. I think people would be surprised to hear, we get the chance to look behind, under the hood, so to speak, at so many different companies. And that's really missing from a lot of organizations, is getting really clear, I think, on the two most important things would be values. So who are we and what how are we making decisions, and what are we prioritizing? And then what are our goals? What are we trying to achieve? And that does I would estimate probably 80% of the work for you, just getting clear with your team on those two things.
Absolutely.
Now, through your own experience, you've become an influential voice in speaking about issues like mental health in the workforce. What's that looking like in today with your clients? What are you seeing? What steps are they taking to make that a priority for their employees?
Yeah, so it really, there's a couple of things I'd love to say here. And the first is that I'm so thankful that we can actually talk about this now, because when I started my career, I don't know if it was similar for you too, but that you would never talk about mental health in the workplace ever. You just pretended that you were A-okay 132% of the time. I remember that I actually told a manager once that I was feeling overwhelmed with my workload, and their response was, maybe you're not cut out for this industry then. And I think just shifting to the fact that we can talk about this, and that it doesn't have to be that everyone pretends they're okay any longer, is huge progress. But truly everyone is struggling with mental health. I think that's the most important thing that employers, employees, anyone that we're working with needs to remember, is that we have all gone through collective trauma over the last 2 years, whether it's, missing family members, missing holidays, losing loved ones. And I think the real challenge that we're facing right now is people are trying to push forward because the opportunities are out there. That's what we're seeing, at least, that the economy hasn't just picked up, it's like full steam ahead. And that everyone has not healed. We have not healed from the experience of the past 2 years. And we're not just we're building on top of an unstable foundation. And I don't think that we can just continue to push people without addressing that. And so just being aware of that as employers and employees, I think, is so, so important, and the real first big step. And I will say that no one has mastered this. This is uncharted territories. And I think it's just going to take people being brave, and in the words of Brene Brown, I don't know if you follow her, but vulnerable, and just, it's going to be messy. And I think that being okay and being comfortable with the uncomfortable is probably going to be the best thing that anyone can do right now.
So does Advocation, how do you help, companies foster that culture of, open communication, well-being? What can companies, or what have companies implemented in order?
Yeah. How can they promote it to make it okay and make their employees feel supported?
Well, for instance, I know companies that have given their employees like a full week of just like a self-care week, or a mental health week, and they take it off, and it's just an additional time off that they get, but it's called like a mental health week. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
I think my opinion on this might be a bit of an unpopular one, but, I feel like providing perks and benefits to your employees because they're stressed and overworked feels a little bit like gaslighting them without addressing why they're overworked. And so without looking at an employee, because at least what we're experiencing in our industry is people are stressed out because they're often doing the jobs of 1.5, 2, sometimes 3 people. And to me, getting to the root of why people are stressed and why people feel like they need that extra time off is the most important thing that we we could do, is kind of getting to the root cause of it. And really goes back to like what we talked about earlier, and resetting appropriate expectations. You know, what is this person's workload, and how can we make it so that it is reasonable and it is not a 1.5 or a 2 times workload, and not saying, okay, everybody, we know we're super stressed out because everyone's doing the job of 2 people. Let's bring in a meditation expert to talk to us on Zoom. And instead saying, all right, let's figure out how we can all have a reasonable workload, and starting with that. So I know it's not an easy fix. It's not something that you can just offer to employees. It does take a lot of work, and that's the work that we really do with team members, is figuring out, you know, we call it capacity planning in our industry, but what is everyone working, you know, what is the available team members' time, and how are we applying that to our projects, and not accepting work that there truly are people, there's no one to do the work. But I will say that the time off is, I think, the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that we're seeing as a perk that is effective, and a perk that employees want if companies are looking to provide something to their team. And it can honestly be as simple as an afternoon off, or setting boundaries on when team members are expected to come into meetings. So saying, you know, we have a company-wide policy of no meetings on Fridays. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything over the top, but just showcasing that it's important to you and you're thinking about it. And then again, accepting in that feedback from team members who, and listening to what they have to say about it.
I seem to agree with you on that, the gaslighting comment about the rewards that we're given, right? In order, because we're working so hard and so many extra hours. So like a $25 gift card or lunch doesn't just cut it. So I do agree that time off, or respecting quiet hours, because some companies have that. They have quiet hours, like you said, on Fridays, no meetings past 2 p.m. And then you're able to concentrate and work on what you're working on, rather than stacking on more and more responsibility, right? One on top of the other. Which
Absolutely.
is frustrating, right?
Yes.
So besides the workforce being burnt out, everyone's trying to stay mentally and emotionally afloat, right? While we're balancing all of our obligations. So working from home, being a parent, or even not being a parent, we have more obligations, right? We have more upkeep. Yeah, we might not have to run to drop the kids off at school per se, or whatever. It looks differently. But how do we balance that out? How do you balance that out in today's day? Because it seems unachievable. It's like you're running all over the place. How do we achieve some type of balance within our work life?
Yeah. And I echo that feeling so much, in terms of how do we keep it all balanced, and why does it feel like it's impossible? And it is, in my opinion, because it is not like, balance is not a real state that I think anyone can truly achieve on a day-to-day basis. I really like to think of it more as integration. Like, how are we properly integrating our work and personal lives in a way that feels really good? And the way that I've always approached this in my career, and not always, I will say, since I've felt like I've been getting it right more than wrong, the big change is really getting clear on what's important to me, and prioritizing those activities, those relationships alongside of work. I think, and in my experience and chatting with colleagues, that it's really difficult to prioritize your personal life if you've not done that work where you identify what's important to me, what are my real values. It's very easy for your entire day to get filled with work. And I would say, in chatting with other professionals, it's even more challenging for women and people who don't have children, because at the end of the day, you know what your priority is if you have kids. Like the law says, you've got to feed them, right? I mean, hopefully parents are doing a lot more than that, but that's a clear priority. It's something that is known in our society that, hey, if you're a parent, you're spending your off hours taking care of and spending time with your children. But if you don't have that set priority for you, other people will do it. And so to say, or I do this at the beginning of every year to make sure that I'm spending my time, and it makes it a lot easier to set boundaries if I know why I'm doing it and what they're for. So for me this year, I needed to refocus on my health. And after, spending 2 years at home and feeling a little bit, for me, burnt out personally on like how I was thinking about my health, that was incredibly important to me. So I set boundaries around that. I prioritized that. But if I had never done that bit of time, that activity of really thinking about what I want to prioritize this year, it would be way easier for me to work from 9 to 9 instead of saying, okay, I've got to stop at 6 because I need to get on my spin bike, So that to me is the kind of first step of really getting into that more of a balanced flow that feels really good. Otherwise, it's really, really easy to just work yourself to being burned out without noticing.
I also think culturally, because of social media and, that there's that culture of like no days off or like until you die. I don't even know the hashtag.
Team no sleep, right?
Yeah, team no sleep.
Yes.
So that culturally is praised, like the working, like, like you're gonna sound a little bit weak if you're like, no, I like to have work-life balance. How do we flip that conversation? Because I think it's important for, especially like all the women that are listening, it's okay to want time off. It's okay to always work. It does not devalue you as a professional.
Absolutely. And I could not agree more with that conversation needs to change. I think it's changing a little bit now, because it used to be that there was no room for the other side of that coin. And now I am seeing a little bit of the other side of that, hey, there is more than one way to achieve, for everybody to achieve success. We don't have to work ourselves into the ground. I think that it's going to take a few brave people to just be really honest that this is how I've done it. I didn't stay up until midnight to complete this project. I did this instead, and share their experiences, because I really think that once we as individuals and as a collective society have more examples of success in the other way of doing it, it will start to shift people's perspective about what hard work looks like. And I also think that, small actions that we can take every day is just encouraging the people in our life to say, good for you for taking Saturday off, or yes, turn your phone off and go do what you need to do. Because I would say my circle is very much, we're very much on the other side of like, not wanting to work until midnight every single night, not wanting to hustle hard till we get sick, but still, I see much of the encouragement happening around pushing past your limits, pushing past your goals. And we can do and be both. And it doesn't have to be all the way towards one side or all the way towards the other. But I will also say to that note that it's important for people to be honest when they are working hard, because when someone sees that, success seemed to come to them so easily, but they're not really sharing the struggles or the experiences that they had to get there, it creates just a false perception of what it takes to succeed.
Right. So what I'm hearing, your advice is to be open. Open dialogue is what's going to make the change. Until we don't have open dialogue, it's not going to happen.
Also,
yes.
Every industry is different. We tend to work in the media industry, entertainment, and there's going to be times where you will have to stay up till 12, and that's just undoubtedly like you can't. Like there's no balance sometimes, and it's fine. but because it's not always, it's like an ebb and flow of that. It's not always going to be super busy. But when there is, like, you got to put your big panties on, girls on, and do what you got to
Yes.
do. But also like kind of have a balance of like, okay, I worked all weekend. Now next weekend, I'm going to disconnect. Just find that balance where it works for you, that reward yourself. Like, hey, I really worked hard last week. I'm going to reward myself with this. And it's okay. Maybe this week I'm going to take it light and I'm going to end at 6 today. So
Yes.
those are important things to take note. And also, if you're finding that there is no time in the day that you find to do anything and that you have to constantly be like working 24 hours, that just means, I think there's a time management situation there. Like, how are you managing your time? How are you breaking up your day? Are you being productive during those days? Like, what's distracting you? I think there might, hustle hard, but why are you hustling so hard? Like, what's going on with your time?
Yeah.
Totally.
Every day you're working till 12 a.m.
I want to actually quote Shauna. I read something and it really spoke to me. And you said, I learned years ago that work-life balance doesn't just happen because we say it's important. It requires investment of time, energy, resources to create systems and structures that make it possible. But it takes a village because it's not just with you, it's with your surrounding as well.
Yep.
So I love that.
Absolutely. And to kind of build on what you said, Gabby, one of the systems that I use every day, because that's true. It's such a great point that we have to be effective, because if we are not focused, that leads to overwhelm, because tasks that should take 30 minutes are taking 3 hours, and we all only have the exact same amount of time in the day. So every single morning, I mean, I am truly a bit fanatical about it. I plan my day by the hour, but it's sometimes by the 15-minute increment. And I know exactly what I need to achieve that day to stay on track. And I don't schedule myself to the max, but really getting clear about what are the 2 or 3 most important things that I need to get done today means that I'm always making progress. I'm always moving forward, and I'm always clear about what it is that I'm trying to achieve.
I do the same thing, just to take not to 15 minutes. Wow. Shauna, you are killing it, girl.
It's taken a lot of practice.
Yeah. I do more like, okay, what do I have to get done today? Like based on my deadlines, based on, my personal goals. And I love to write it down. I write it down. I love to like scratch things out of my to-do list. That also gets me motivated. Like, oh my God, I only have 2 more things to go and my day's going to finish. Yeah. And I feel that that gives you structure. Like, okay, today I'm not going to think about anything but these things have to get done. So yes, I think whoever's listening, if you're finding that you are struggling with like, how do I manage my time? I'm always working till late. I'm burnt out. Find a way to block your time. Is there anything else that you can advise them to do, or to find ways to like, maybe like find more balance? Cause yeah, what is it? Work smart, not work hard. What is it that saying? Like,
work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder. Yeah.
And also, if you have a team and there's people that can help, how do we delegate? Learn to delegate also.
Yeah. So I don't talk about this very often publicly, but I feel like we're in a safe space, so I will. But as something that I learned, again, it goes back to health, but also systems from a women, I think was a gynecologist and medical health professional, is learning how to work with our energy cycles as women, because I never knew this until she shared it with me, but our energy cycles reset every 28 days or however long our cycle is, where a man's resets every 24 hours. So no wonder that there are certain weeks where we feel tired or we feel at our best. And that makes sense because our energy cycles are a lot longer. And so being able, it's not perfect, because you can't just say, well, my energy's low this week, I can't do anything. But to say, all right, my energy is going to be really high this week, so let me plan some high energy activities. So for me, I'll try to do interviews, I will try to do sales calls, I will try to batch those types of activities. Whereas if it's a week where I know is going to be much more low energy, I will look to do kind of like admin stuff, can I run my payroll that week? Can I do my tax stuff? Can I, the stuff that's feels a little bit more menial and doesn't require as much brain power, or for me to show up and be a vibrant human. So that has really made a huge difference for me in terms of just getting the most done that I can and working with my body instead of against it. So that is a big thing. I'm not a medical professional, obviously, but that advice did come from someone who is, so take it with a grain of salt. But that has
men rejuvenate that energy every 24 hours.
Every 24 hours.
That's insane.
And they get paid more. And what?
Right.
I know. I found that so surprising too, but it makes so much sense. I had never heard that before. So yeah, we go through the same energy cycle, but theirs happens in 24 hours and ours happens in 28 days or however long, your cycle is. But I was like, wow, good to know.
Raining, honey. Oh, yes. I feel the energy. This week is low energy for me, by the way.
I know how that week feels. I know it.
We're managing.
We are managing.
Like I do believe women, we know how to show up. That's one thing we know how to do. So
we do. Yes, we know how to show up. That's for sure.
No. Sorry. No, please go ahead. Because I was gonna get into the fun part, but if you have another question.
I'm still confused. I don't know. Do you?
I have two possible options. But I'm gonna go
on here.
Yeah, she's happening?
Like, what's happening? We like to guess our guests' astrological signs.
Stop. Oh my God. Yes, I'm 100% into this.
Okay, great.
Obsessed. Yes, tell me.
Well, we talk to our guests and kind of like figure their little quirks out, and then at the end we try to guess. I still kind of not sure about you yet. So Alex is gonna guess first. Let her guess, and then I'll guess.
Okay.
My initial thought was that perhaps you're a Capricorn. And then I was like, you also have a little bit of Virgo tendencies. Because I'm a Virgo, but we're a little bit different. So I was like, maybe she's not a Virgo, maybe she's a Capricorn. Gabby?
I'm still confused, but I'm going by the 15-minute planning thing. And that gave me a little bit of Virgo vibes. Not gonna lie. But also be
Gabby's really good at this, by the way.
You could also be a water sign. So
she has poker face. She's not like
So water sign would be what, like a Pisces or Aquarius or something?
Yeah, those are water signs, I think.
What are you, Shauna? Reveal.
I am a Sagittarius.
Oh, we just had another Sag on the podcast too.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read Sagittarius.
Me neither, I guess not.
Yeah, I've heard that we are the craziest of the signs. So maybe I'm just holding that back really well today. I don't know, but I love that.
Shauna, come on, girl. No, but you know what? A lot of entrepreneurs are Sagittarius because you guys are very you like freedom. You like to do it your way.
Yes.
You like strings attached. Like it's my way and I'm going to figure it out. You're also very fiery,
Yeah, I love that you do this. I'm obsessed with astrology, and that's such a fun way to add to your interviews. I love it.
Yeah,
it makes it fun. I'm always wrong, by the way.
Yeah, the whole time we're talking to you, we're like,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell, to be honest. I think you Sagittarius. I love Sagittarius, by the way. So how people get in touch with you if somebody maybe has a PR agency or another type of business that would make sense for you to kind of be involved in? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I spend the most time online on Instagram and LinkedIn. So just right now we're launching a new company channel. So connecting with me personally is the best. You can connect with me. I'm Shauna Nuckles, my full name. So ShaUnaNuckles, and same on Instagram and LinkedIn.
Amazing.
It was great having you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. And I've wanted to say one thing throughout this whole interview that I want to make sure I say. I'm obsessed with your pink microphones.
Oh, thank you.
That is like the perfect pop for showing up on video. I love it. They're so cute.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for all your expertise, and good luck on everything, and have a wonderful 2022.
Thank you. You both as well.
Thank you. And everyone listening, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys took a lot of great insights from Shauna, and please, no more burnout. Let's find some balance. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
#days off.
Yes. # take a few days off.
Yeah.
You're listening to Girls Gone Boss.
Hosted by Alex and Gabby. I love you guys.
Oh yeah.